Whew. Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. And we're going to talk about the rules of happiness, the rules of healing, the rules of undoing fear, the rules of undoing separation, the rules of undoing guilt and lack and attack and separation. What are the rules for healing? What are the rules which the Course in Miracles calls the laws of happiness, the laws of healing? So we're going to cover that. We're going to continue to cover that. I said last week that I was going to take it slow and go through it because I think it's an overview of what the Course in Miracles teaches as a whole. So we're going to start out while we're coming in and getting settled. We're going to start out with our theme song, which is a Course in Miracles lesson that's been set to music by my good friend John Christmas. And if you decide you want to get his music, you can get it at www.johnchristmas.com, and you can download it for free. And all of it's based on the teachings of the Course. So here we go. I am not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. How can you tell when you're seeing yourself as a victim of the world you see? It's in direct proportion to how much fear, anger, upset, and depression that you're experiencing. If I am having emotions and feelings that I feel like are being caused by somebody else and somebody else's action, then I am seeing myself as a victim of the world I see. So it's easy to tell when you shift. In the Course in Miracles says that the one right use of judgment is your feelings, because your feelings get you in touch with what you really believe as opposed to what you say you believe. So we're going to start out with, I am not a victim of the world I see. And remember, it's okay to lighten up and have a good time. Here we go. Of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. Let it in, let it in, let it in. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my pa. I'm not a victim of even circumstance at all. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. Yeah, I'm not a victim. I'm a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. Now these are the guidelines. You need not believe the ideas. You don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to accept the ideas. Nobody's trying to get you to accept the ideas. Nobody's trying to convert you. Nobody's trying to get you. This is just some more information that's coming to you for you to decide whether or not you want to use it or not. That's up to you. Guess what? I'm not a victim of the North. I'm not a victim of the South. Not a victim of anything except what comes out my mouth. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me, including the good stuff. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim. have to welcome the ideas. You don't have to welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas, no matter how open-minded you may think you are, you may resist some of these ideas. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Being alive is permitted. Okay, it's perfectly permissible. So I'm Earl. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. I'm glad to be with my mighty companions. So to make this really easy, again, the Course in Miracles tells you how to study A Course in Miracles if you want to get understanding of A Course in Miracles. And it says that what you need to remember is you don't have to believe what the Course says. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. Some of the things that you hear you might resist, which are mostly going to be anything that's opposite to what you believe. We tend to resist that which is different from what we believe, and then we tend to be open and receptive to hearing our own point of view being said back to us. And so some of the ideas you may actively resist. New means different, so if you say you're ready to hear something new, then look forward to me not saying something that you necessarily believe. That would be the definition of new. Okay, all right. Then it says some of the ideas you will find hard to believe, and some of the ideas may startle you. Some of it might be hard to believe, some of it may startle you. Some of it may be hard to believe, some of it may startle you. Do you know you're not being asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all? It's not the analyzation of the ideas that you're being asked to do. It's using it. He says if you use it, you'll see that it's true. So if you use it, you'll see that it's true. The Course in Miracles is working on our perception. We're primarily working on our perception. It's also a spiritual teaching. It's not a religious teaching. It's a spiritual teaching. Okay, so understand it. This is not a regular self-help personal growth class. Okay, this is not a class for how to manifest $10 million next year. Even though that'd be wonderful, if some of you that would be the best thing that ever happened to you, some of you that could be the worst thing that ever happened to you. See, the Course in Miracles says we have an almost childlike attitude. You know, a child thinks whatever they want is good for them. Right? A child could be playing with some scissors and be 2 years old and just be fascinated by how shiny it is. And as a good parent, what would you do? You take the scissors out of their hand. What's the kid gonna do? The kid's gonna cry. That explains your last relationship.
Oh, the present one.
Somebody went to bed with a pair of scissors last night. I've gone out with a few scissors in a mini dress myself. It has occurred. So I love how the Course in Miracles, one of the earliest messages in the Course in Miracles and one of the workbook lessons is, I don't know what anything is for. I don't perceive my own best interests. I don't always know what's best for me. And just because I want it doesn't mean that it's the best thing in the world for me. Sometimes I'm amazed at how many relationships ended as soon as I gave it to God. It's like, well, I do want it to last a week, so I won't give it to God. So with Red Rocks, I want to see. Well, after 42 years, my relationship to higher power is much more direct than most people who are trying to develop that communication. I don't ask unless I'm sincere about really wanting spirit to take over. And so this is a Course in Miracles, and the Course says if you use the ideas will show you that they have meaning. And we left off on page on page 554, and we left off at paragraph 6 on page 554, paragraph 6 in the text. The Course in Miracles, the Foundation for Inner Peace version of the Course. I call myself the Divine Repetition Teacher. I call myself the Remembering Coach. There's nothing more important than remembering what the Course is saying and then applying it. So if you don't remember what it's saying, how can you apply something that you don't remember what it said? How can you apply something that you haven't remembered what it's saying? So it's not important that the Course says our understanding doesn't make a powerful contribution to anything. And it doesn't make something true because I understand it. I thought that was so cool when it said that your understanding isn't a powerful contribution to the truth. It doesn't make it true because you agree with it or because you understand it or don't understand it. So it's called A Course in Miracles because it says a miracle is a correct perception, and if we have a correct perception, it's a miracle. So if we have a loving perception, it's a miracle. If we have patience with each other, caring for each other, seeing each other as each other, it's a miracle. I went to the Taste of Colorado yesterday, and it was amazing how many friendly, loving people was extended to me from everywhere in the place. Which is telling me at some level I'm beginning to accept that I deserve kind, loving people around me. Because the way you can always get out of denial is your physical reality. Your physical reality is a direct reflection of your consciousness. So no matter what you're telling yourself, it's what you're experiencing in your physical world that's reflecting what you feel about yourself for real, according to this. So we don't want to go fast. We want to hear what it's saying. And in paragraph 6, that's good. I'm impressed. Do you know that it's impossible that one illusion be less amenable to the truth than all the rest? So it's impossible that one idea be less amenable to being corrected that's false than another false idea. Anything that's false can be destroyed. Anything that's false doesn't last, according to the Course. So it's possible that, there's some things I want to give to God and give to the truth and give to the higher power, but then there's some things I don't want to give to the truth and I don't want to give to God and I don't want to give to the higher power. There's some things I believe that's not true that I still want to believe it, whether or not it's been proven false or not. There's some things we're willing to see as false, and there's some things that we give more value to that we're not willing to see as not true yet. So there are going to be some things that we offer for healing less willingly than others. There are some things that we want to handle ourselves and not give it up to the universe and spirit to handle. And then there's some things that we think we're glad to give up. In other words, we want to pick and choose what we want to give to spirit in order to have corrected or healed. There's a part of us that wants to, if there's some things I'm willing to accept that maybe are not true, and then there are other things that I'm not ready to give up to the truth yet. Do you know what mostly that is? The illusion that we aren't ready to give up a grievance. It's usually a grievance. It's usually something that we're upset about that we think somebody has done to us going back to our childhood. It's usually those are the things that people have a tendency to want to hang on to the most and not give those up for forgiveness and to be healed. And then there's some things that they're ready to give up and say they're ready to let go. I'm ready to let go of the false idea that I can be prosperous and abundant. I'm ready to bring any ideas that keep me from being prosperous and abundant. I'm willing to see those ideas as false. But what my daddy did to me, that's real. See, there's some things I want to bring to the truth, and then there's some things that I don't want to bring to the truth, which is if I'm still suffering from my childhood at the age I am, then there's a real problem. Because the only reason why I don't feel happy today, if I don't feel happy being with you right now, it's only one reason if I don't feel really good being with you right now, it's what I'm telling myself about being with you right here, right now. And that's the same thing happening for you. how you're feeling right now is coming from what you're telling yourself about this experience. So that means that your childhood doesn't have to have anything to do with why your life isn't working right now or you can't have relationships right now, because what's affecting you right now is what you're telling yourself about what happened to you in your childhood, but you're doing it right now. So the Course says that's interpreting the present in past terms. So I'm in this free moment that I'm with you, that I could be having a really clean, wonderful experience of you, but I'm sitting up here thinking about what somebody did to me on the playground when I was in the 5th grade. Okay, then that's gonna make me feel bad when? Now. So the only reason why I'm feeling bad now is what I'm telling myself now. The only reason why you're feeling good now is what you're telling yourself right now. The only reason why you feel bad now is what you're telling yourself right now. It has nothing to do with the physical circumstance you think is making you unhappy. Some people have a relationship end, it's a tragedy, and they cry for weeks. Some people have a relationship end, and they go, oh my God, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so glad I'm not in a relationship. So in both cases, people had relationships end. What was the difference? The way they looked at it. So the Course in Miracles says the entire physical world is that way. It's neutral. It doesn't have any meaning until we give it meaning. Nothing in our life has any meaning until we give it meaning, according to the Course. Everything is neutral. Then we give it the meaning. You know, my mother made her transition. She was in such pain at the time of her transition that it was a relief. Because I loved her too much to want her to stay in a body that I knew wasn't her in the first place, that was causing her pain. Because I no longer believe we were just bodies that die one day. Now, people who believe we're just bodies that die one day, that's cool. They'll find out it's not true. In the meantime, I'm going to be enjoying myself. Because whatever's the truth, we're going to all find out. So we don't even have to worry about that. But if there is life after death, you'll know it. And if there isn't life after death, you won't. So don't worry about it either way it goes. Okay, but I lean toward there is life after death. It seems kind of pointless for an infinite creator to create us just to grow old and die and hope we get Social Security. Okay. That doesn't hint of an intelligent higher power. So the Course says take it slow. It says no illusion has any truth in it. Nothing that is false has any truth in it, yet it appears like some things are more true than other things. Although something being more real than another thing being real doesn't really make any sense. What does more real mean? Either it's real or it's not. Either it's true or it's not. It's not more truth. So the Course in Miracles is saying that nothing that is untrue has any kind of capacity to last. So if reality is based on love, which is the premise of this book, there's only love, and love is the only thing that's real, and everything else is what we're making up. Then if love is the only thing that's real, by definition, anything that's not love does not last. So if we're in a world based on fear and separation and anger and guilt, we don't have to worry about a world like that is not going to last. A perception like that is not going to last, because anything that's not based on love shouldn't last. I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't love me. I hope it doesn't last. Which kind of explains why I had so many. All of a sudden, the mysteries are being solved. The great mysteries of Earl. Oh, you didn't love me in the first place? No. That's why I didn't last. And you didn't love me either. Guess what? We don't have the slightest idea what real love is. And this book had the audacity to say that. You all have no idea of how to really love. He just straight up said it in the book. That's why you go through pain. If it was love, you wouldn't be going through pain and suffering. Pay attention to the effect to lead you back to the cause. He says that over and over again, because you'll lie to yourself. He said, you'll tell yourself anything, like you're really nice. Well, I am really nice. Yeah, as long as you don't cross me. Yeah, as long as you act out my script, you will have no problem with me. I'm not conditionally loving. Until you do something I don't want you to. So really the course, I love it, he says, so all that a hierarchy of false ideas can show is preference. There's just some things that I'm not ready to give up yet. I'm not ready to give up that I'm a victim yet. I'm not ready to give up the idea that I'm separate yet. There's some things I'm told like it is an illusion, like our separation. I'm not ready to give that up. So there are some things I would prefer to keep. I prefer to keep that grievance. So that doesn't make it any less untrue. All right. Is Bugs Bunny, the cartoon character, real? Yes. Okay. That explains why things are happening the way they're happening in your life. Your perception is a little warped. So if I drew a picture of 300 Bugs Bunnies, would they be real? No. Whether that's why that, because it doesn't matter the intensity of the thing that you're going through. I know it looks like the common cold is less serious than cancer, but it's not to spirit. It's not to God. See, we make God in our image. We make the Creator in our image. And so we think the Creator is a dysfunctional guy sometimes in the sky that's arbitrarily punishing people for stupid stuff. And then we say that's God. Actually, and then God gets jealous, and God gets mad, and God gives, and God takes away. That sounds like us. Mm-hmm. That to me sounds like we have made the Creator totally in our image. And so, and then the court said that we believe if God doesn't believe what we say about God, God is wrong. I told you, Creator, what you are, and you say you're love, and I say you're fear. Well, you're the one that's wrong. You're what I say you are. And that's exactly what happens in relationships. You know, we'll say stuff like, I know exactly what you're thinking, and I know what's going on in your mind right now. You know, it's so funny that we'll want to use our judgments because that convinces us that we know what's going on. And that's why adults like to judge, because if they don't judge, they won't think they understand what's going on. You're trying to demonstrate your ability to understand what you see by judging everything that you're hearing, because that proves you have the ability to make the decisions about what's real. So then you sit and you listen to me based on your past learning, determining what it is I'm saying and how real it is. What could be a more faultier way of knowing what's going on than that? And then when you think everybody's doing it, it's a wonder we surviving it all. Okay? Then the court says, and this book is history, it said, what relevance has preference to the truth? I'm sorry, just because you prefer something to be a certain way, that doesn't mean it's going to be that way just because you prefer it. And your preference doesn't make things real. So your preference gives none of the false ideas in your life that are really false. Your preference gives them no reality. If you are not separate from me, and that's just a fact, we are all one in spirit, then your preference to be separate from me doesn't make any difference. You can want to be separate from me all you want to, but we are all one and we're all connected no matter what. And then if you want to play with the idea of reincarnation, which means you couldn't screw up this bad in just one life. It's called reincarnation. It was the only idea to me that gave any of the unfairness that it looked like we go through in this life. Any fairness was when I was introduced to the idea of reincarnation, because I was being told I had only one life, and even though all of us start out with unequal advantages, we all had to do it all in one life. That did not sound fair to me at all, right? But it would make sense, though, if we have many lives and we come into our bodies to learn different lessons. And so you were beginning where you left off the last time. You just meeting your own self. So if I want to know what kind of soul I was in the past and what kind of person that I was in the past, as everybody I see around me and everything I see them as, I only see my past. So I'm looking at my reincarnational past every time I open my eyes. In the past, I've been selfish sometimes. In the past, I have attacked sometimes. In the past, I've got sick sometimes. In the past, I have gotten, whatever I see anybody doing, I'm just seeing the past. I'm just seeing my past. But that includes the loving, cool stuff, too. So the Course in Miracles is telling us, he says, not one illusion is true in any way. And so everything that is not true, and love is the only thing that's true, abundance is the only thing that's true, health and healing and happiness is the only thing that's true. Well, then all of those things are going to yield with ease.
Yeah.
To what God gave as the answer. So whatever pain and suffering that anyone is going through at any level is ultimately going to yield to love and to the answers that love gives. Love is going to win. The truth is going to win. God is going to win. Okay, so the Course in Miracles is saying because God's will is one. And you could always put the word love, if you got a child with the word God. But like I said before, this is a spiritual teaching, so I'm not going to run away from the idea of God and higher power. That's why I love the Course, is because it's spiritual. I call it spiritual psychotherapy. Because, it's trying to be spiritual with psychos. Now, yeah, I can laugh at my ego in a way that it's not made. Some people get offended. I'm not a psycho. To me, you're acting like you're not. So the Course says, any wish that seems to go against God's will has no foundation in the truth. Your Creator, according to this book, wills that you have complete happiness, that you have complete joy, that you have complete love, and that's the purpose of a relationship. He said, the purpose of a relationship is to make happy and nothing else. I said, what? I read that in the book. It said, the purpose of a relationship is to make happy. You are made to generate happiness. Nothing else. You're not there to fix each other. You're not there to make sure you got somebody in your old age or whatever all the different roles that we come, but we are there to generate happiness with each other, joy with each other. And he says, in a relationship that doesn't do that isn't real. I want to stay with somebody I enjoy. You wouldn't have to be forcing me to stay with somebody I really want to be with. We're going to counseling so we can talk ourselves into staying. Why are you here? We hate each other, but we want to stay together. Y'all been together for how many years? 60 years. Yeah, because we want to. We learned how to look at each other in such a way that we could be together for 60 years. It's all in the way we look at each other, the way we see each other. So any wish that seems to go against happiness doesn't have any foundation. So even if you try to make yourself unhappy, even if you try to keep yourself sad, it's not going to work. You're still going to end up fulfilled. Sorry. Forgive me. Now, I'm going to say a word that's going to crunch those of you who grew up in deep fundamentalist kind of religious households. You ready to get scrunched on the inside? Okay, here's the word. Sin. He says, sin is not a mistake. It's impossible. I went, sin is not a mistake. The idea of sin is not a mistake. It's impossible. It's the belief that you could really commit some kind of a crime that you couldn't be corrected by a higher power or loved by a higher power. He says the belief that is real has made some errors seem forever past the hope of healing, and the lasting grounds for hell is to believe you could have a problem that was unsolvable. For you to believe you could have anything happening in your life that's causing you any kind of fear and there not be an answer for that is a sin. It's a sin for you to think you couldn't be loved no matter what, or helped no matter what. If you want to call anything a sin, call that a sin. It's a sin for you to think you don't deserve love, that you don't deserve to be happy, that you're just a bad person, or you're not enough, or that you're a victim, or that you could never have loving relationships or a satisfying calling or career in your life. The Course says it's a sin when you think like that. If you want to make up the idea of sin, because there's no such thing as you coming up with something that the Creator could not solve. And that's what a sin would be. It was the idea that you could do something about yourself that so permanently changes you that you're beyond help. I'm so bad, nothing could ever help me. Woo! 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 Remember now, you don't have to believe this, accept this, welcome this. Some of this is going to be startling. I said you might not like it. You might go to sleep. Don't hurt yourself. Okay? I'd much rather somebody go to sleep as their response to me than anything else as far as an attack or anger. Now, it's perfectly okay. Just go to sleep. Okay? Now, when you start to wake up, you're going to wake up and recognize you are in a world that is a big call for love. That's one of the things about starting to wake up spiritually. It's like all of a sudden, you start to see how opposite to real love that we really are treating each other. Because now we know we're here to be a channel for that. So the Course in Miracles says, so the one thing I want you to understand is that if you could come up with anything that could keep you from being loved, there would be something that would be the opposite to love. So there's nothing that you can do that's going to keep you from being helped. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to keep you from being helped. Because if there was a will of God for you to be punished and a will of God for you to be helped, then that would be the same as saying God's will is split in two. One part of it is I want to give love, part of it is I want to attack. It is sounding strangely human again. That's what we do. We choose to love one minute and we choose to be mad the next minute. And this book is saying love doesn't split in two like that. Because if the creation had two rulers, then they would be trying to listen to two opposing powers all the time until he says God becomes impatient, splits the world apart, and then starts attacking itself. In other words, for any of the stuff for you to believe to be true, God would have had lost God's mind. Because Mary said, do you think the Creator has lost his mind to create what y'all are calling that you attributing this to God? That would mean God's crazy as hell. I'm going to love you, I'm going to hate you. And now the Course says, I'm going to love you, and then if you do make a mistake, I'm going to correct you. I'm going to lovingly correct you when you do dumb stuff or mean stuff. I'm going to correct you. There's only two responses of love, a creator that loves you. I'm going to love you and correct you if you're making a mistake. I'll love you through it. I'll give you another way. Look, don't limit me to human love. Human love sucks. It's the worst thing you can get somebody. Why you think you're in hell with them right now? You have to hang out with the people you want to do in. Oh, that's why we're here. They sent me to the world where you were surrounded by the people who want to do you in. It's called Earth. The flying saucers are not abducting people. They're what? Dropping them off. Yes, I'm a higher intelligence coming to abduct earthlings. Yet I'm claiming to be a higher intelligence. We want earthlings. Oh yeah, we love what they do to planets. Let's take them back to ours. I loved in Matrix. Who saw the movie Matrix? I loved in Matrix when they was comparing humans to viruses. They said, you all just go into an area and then you consume it until there's nothing left and then you move on. Sound like my dinner plate. But that's what it seems like, don't it? It looks like we just come into something, we use it all up. Like we said, we're using up the water, or we're using up, and then we just move on. And he said, that's what viruses do. So I want to be a love virus. Yeah, that's what I want to be. I'm tired of waiting for other people to be nicer than me. Because we all know if people just was more like us, the world would be a much better place. I didn't even say that because I had thought that was just needless to even say. If you all were more like me, there would be no problems. That's what you think I'm doing with my mind all day long. I'm coming up and using my mind to come up with ways to get you to change. Because if you were different, I would be happy. Sometimes men tend not to do a lot of introspection because we're kind of like programmed to be not so much in our feelings and emotions and stuff like that, you know. And so sometimes when the relationship breaks up, before we know it, we jump right into another one. Because the problem didn't have nothing to do with us. So what do I need to have introspection about what happened? It was her. She was different. She was different. So I didn't just go straight into the next relationship. I had to stop and think, because it had nothing to do with me. I was perfect. So I'm just going right into the next one. Matter of fact, even faster because I need my self-esteem, it's been wounded. And I need to get validation that somebody still wants me. Right? So I got to rush right into a new validation. So it's so important to get to that point where you realize it's impossible for you not to have people who love you because this universe was created by love, and so therefore anything that blocks love has to go, and that's why you need to get your act together so you won't have to go. Or you think people die, they got to go. It's time to go back, regroup, come back, try it again. Then the Course in Miracles says, since God hasn't lost God's mind, since proclaiming sin and taking his reality from him and brought his love at last to vengeance healed. See, people don't like to read the Course, but to tell you, it speaks in such beautiful imagery. Like he says, thus he has lost his mind, proclaiming that the idea of sin and guilt and attack has taken love's reality from love and brought love to the heels of vengeance. And so for you to have such an insane picture that you could actually love somebody and want to do revenge on them at the same time. I was reading in this autobiography, this dude was talking about his brother's girlfriend came into the house, saw some clothes in his brother's closet that actually these women's clothes were his brother's girlfriend. Let me see, this is so cool, I want to make sure you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, I'm making up some names. Brother Joe and Brother Fred. Okay? Brother Joe, his girlfriend, saw these girls' clothes that she thought it was her boyfriend's clothes and not his brother's girlfriend's clothes. So in other words, the clothes in the closet were not clothes that her boyfriend had another woman in the house with some clothes. Everybody hear that? That's crazy enough for us to understand, right? Okay, y'all understand what I'm saying? She looked in the closet, saw some women's clothes, assumed it was her boyfriend cheating on her, and that was some of his other women's clothes in the closet. He's in the living room watching TV, and she comes in, and then she plunges a steak knife into his neck and kills him. This was a family show. Okay, now, would you say that was a misperception? Okay, she was totally wrong about everything. And notice that when was she most totally wrong? When she was most upset. She was so angry and she was so upset that she stabbed him in the neck, which meant that the more angry and upset you are, the more your perception is distorted and you're not seeing anything correctly. You've got to stop thinking that you're right when you're mad. Just because you're angry and upset does not mean that you're seeing something correctly. The Course in Miracles teaches that it actually means you're not seeing anything correctly. That when you're most upset is when your perception is most likely to be wrong. So when you're getting upset and you're beginning to feel that twinge and you're getting ready to go off, try to shut up. Take everything, keep your mouth closed and breathe. She walked in the door and she saw the clothes in the closet and they had a real relationship. She would go, wow, I don't like the way I feel right now. I hope I'm wrong about what I'm telling myself about my boyfriend cheating on me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I want another way to look at these clothes in the closet. I want another way to look at these clothes in the closet. What can I lose by asking? Spirit, give me another way to look at what I'm experiencing right now and how I'm feeling right now. See, just taking a moment to pause like that can be enough time to let sanity come in and save the whole situation. That guy wouldn't have a steak knife in his neck if she had just done that. So that's why I try to form relationships with people who are not crazy. Yeah. It's a nasty habit. And the Course in Miracles teaches you how to tell the difference between when you're getting ready to deal with a sane person and when you're getting ready to deal with a nut. Okay? It says that vision is knowing the results of your actions before you take them. So I'm going to teach you how to tell when you're getting ready to deal with an insane person who doesn't know how to love or forgive. And I'm going to teach you how to recognize them even if their bodies are so beautiful you don't care how crazy they are. And if you go to Taste of Colorado, you're going to see some. Temptation will abound. I know none of you have ever overlooked anybody's mind because of the infatuation with their bodies. I know that's why you're looking at me like this. Like, what are you talking about? I tell you, the body is like melting ice cream. You better lick it while you get a chance. Okay. Say, I heard y'all get that a lot of meanings. That's why he said, take it slow. Then he goes, nothing gives meaning. He said, nothing gives meaning where there is no meaning. So if you're dealing with something that doesn't really have any meaning, there's nothing you can do to give it meaning. Have you ever tried to give a relationship meaning that didn't have meaning and nothing you could do could give it meaning? That's because there was no meaning in it. Then he gets, truth needs no defense to make it true. So if gravity is real, I don't have to defend it. And if love is real, you don't have to defend it. If love is real, you don't have to defend it. You defend the love that's not real. You defend the love that's not real. Illusions have no witnesses and no effects. Anything that's not real can never affect who you really are. Who you really are is a spiritual being that can never die, that is invulnerable, that is only love, that only deserves love, and who creates through their thoughts. We are unlimited spiritual beings having a human experience, and now we think we're these physical bodies that we've been taught we are, separate from each other, afraid of each other, relating each other's like strangers, trying to snatch a few little special relationships that we can get somebody to care about us before we die, with vacations, hopefully. Now, so the Course then says, whoever looks on fear or illusions That's somebody that's deceived. So so tell yourself, every time I look at my world and it looks like I'm not loved, I am deceived. Every time it looks like I am not protected and loved and cherished, I am deceived. The Course in Miracles says that's what you do. He's telling us what to do. He says, whenever you think that you don't deserve to be loved, you are fooling yourself. You are deceiving yourself. Stop deceiving yourself. You deserve all the love that the world has to give. You deserve all the kindness that the world can give. You deserve it. So forgiveness is the only function here. And the Course in Miracles says to forgive means to see things correctly. That when you forgive, you see things correctly. And what would be a good example of that? Seeing things correctly is believing that if there's any lack in your life in any kind of way, you're deceiving yourself, you're fooling yourself, and you're lying to yourself. If you feel lonely and feel like you can't have beautiful relationships, you're deceiving yourself, you're lying to yourself, you're telling yourself something that's not true. And forgiveness is simply you cutting that out. I want you to have the joy this world is denying you. I want you to have the joy this world seems to be denying you. I want you to have all the joy that it looks like you're being denied right now. I'd like you to have all the abundance and all the happiness and all the safetyness. See, that's how much I want to put you. That's even more than that. I want the safetyness for you. Okay? See, I'm going to forgive you all. Forgiving you all means I'm going to see you as deserving more than you think you deserve. And I'm not going to spend any time trying to convince you to deserve it. I'm going to see you as deserving it for you until one day you suffer enough to get serious enough to join me in the quest of seeing your happiness. And if I interfere with you too soon, it'll just stall even more the time before you hit rock bottom and change your mind and are ready to have the kind of happiness that you deserve to have. So every time you tell yourself you don't deserve to be loved, you're deceiving yourself. And I'm going to forgive you by believing that you do deserve to be loved. That's what forgiveness means. Yes. So it's love that we all are looking for, that we all want right now, that our belief that we're not worthy of is keeping us from having. He says, perhaps you don't see the role forgiveness plays in ending death. No. I don't. The Course in Miracles says forgiveness will end death. And it's going to get rid of every belief that you have that's rising from the mist of guilt. Have you come home late? And it was later than you said you were going to come, and all of a sudden as you came home, you could feel the mist of guilt. Haven't y'all ever felt the mist of guilt? Yeah. And so he says, now what is a sin? Check this out. He says, what is a sin? He said, a sin is a belief that you put between you and somebody else. So every belief that I have about you, that's what's coming between us. There's you and my beliefs about you. That's what's coming between us. So what's coming between all of us is our beliefs about each other. And so the Course in Miracles says that whenever you focus on your beliefs about someone that keeps you from feeling joined with them, then your beliefs will limit you to time and place. Then your beliefs will give you a little space and somebody else a little space. That's what it looks like here. It looks just like that. Think about it. He's saying it. Okay, I got a belief that a sin is a belief I put between me and you. Okay, we've done that. Then he said, well, once you have beliefs that you all use between you, that you let interfere with you, all the beliefs we have about each other. He said, well, when you start having beliefs about each other, and then you're giving these beliefs about each other, and so you're not really seeing each other, you're just seeing the beliefs you have about each other. You're not really seeing me, you're seeing the beliefs that you have about black men that look like me. You're not seeing me, you're seeing the beliefs you have about anybody in the past that look like me. So that's what's between us, the beliefs that you have, your opinions that you have. So the Course says when you sit around and do that, come up and make up beliefs, then what happens at a metaphysical, spiritual level is that at that moment you become limited to time. Oh, it's 1:50 p.m. In place. Oh, I'm in Unity Temple. We're actually having the physical experience of what it's saying while it's saying it. Then it says you're limited to time and place. And then how can you tell when you limit yourself to time and place? Because you're constantly coming up with your judgments and perceptions of everybody around you. He says, well, what happens when you judge like that is that it gives a little space to you, a little space to you, and a little space to me. And this separating off, it looks like we're separated off. It looks like we're separated off. He says this separating off is symbolized in your perception. Us separating is symbolized in your perception by a body. So my body is the symbol of the separation we want between us. We want to be separate from each other, so we have to be separate in something, and that made the body. Your desire to be separate is why you're in a body. Your desire to be separate and special is why you're in a body. Your desire to be separate and special is why you're in a body. Your desire to be separate and special is why? Because you got opinions. And your opinions put you in time and place. And gave you a little space and me a little space. That's just so deep. That's why I say, even if you don't believe what I'm saying, hell, it beats out of most of the conversations we hear, don't it? It's a lot better than most of the stuff we sitting around listening to, whether it's true or not. I'm thankful for that. Just say something different, right? And so I'll say this, and this is so deep. He goes, the body is what? Clearly separate. It's clearly separate, and the body is clearly apart. Okay, so. This body is a symbol. Your body is a symbol of something. What is it that your body is the symbol of? What is it that the body is the symbol of? Everybody in here got a body. Look around. Everybody in here's got a body. And the Course in Miracles says, so we're all sitting up here separate from each other because we want to sit up here separate from each other. And we have opinions. And that put us here. And our bodies symbolize our desire to be separate from each other because we have to be separate in something. If you're going to be separate. So your body is a symbol of a wish. The Course in Miracles says we underestimate the power of wishing. That when you forget your spiritual identity, you become a person who no longer wills things into being. You wish them. And so your physical body is a symbol of your wish to be separate. So the physical body came from your desire to be separate, your desire to be different, and your desire to be special, and your desire to be apart. Now, we're going through the laws of healing. I'm going to stop at this point and do a quick little recap. Because this section is about it's taking us step by step through all the laws of healing and the laws of happiness. But that was so deep, man. That was so deep. I love to hear this stuff because I know it's true. I know it's true, but I just don't believe it. Does that make sense? Some of y'all heard that, didn't you? You know it's true, but you just don't believe it. Yeah. All right. I'm going to do the love offering right now, Holy Spirit. Thank you so much for sharing with me. You know, oh man, thank you. I'm going to pass this around. Hey, I really, there's nothing on this earth that gives me more pleasure and more joy than being the voice for the Course. It's funny that the study material that says, well, the best way in the world for your body to heal is for you not to think you're it. I mean, what? Yeah. The body will heal faster if you don't believe it's you. And I'm like, wow. Because the sickness, the pain, whatever you go through in your body, it says what the purpose of that is is to convince you that that is all you are. That when you're sick, it identifies, he calls it making yourself one with the body, that you do it through pleasure and pain. And when you feel pleasure and pain, you immediately identify with your physical body as being your only identity, because it's feeling some kind of pleasure or it's feeling some kind of pain. So the purpose of pleasure and the purpose of pain is to make you forget who you are, which is something greater than the body, but includes it. But you don't have to believe that. You don't have to accept that. You don't have to welcome that. You may find that hard to believe and quite startling. You're right. The Course in Miracles says basically we use our bodies as bait to catch another fish. Except I've been getting thrown back.
Hey, your bait game ain't good.
Yeah, that bait game ain't like it used to be. It's called ancient. Y'all better enjoy your bait while you can. Just take a word from the wise. Because right now I'm working on everybody seeing inner beauty. My focus has changed. I want somebody that can see me beyond my body. When I was young, I didn't care. See my body. That's all you need to see, buddy. Body is enough. Sometimes I see myself standing on the corner holding my body up. You know what I'm saying?
What is the change?
You can't joke about your body until you start to realize it's not you. Then you don't take it so personal. Oh man. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, all you have to do is go to Zelle or Venmo or PayPal or the Cash App and use my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. You know, this is what I do in the world. Thank you for being generous with me. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for giving without resentment. You know, all that we give is given to ourselves. On Thursdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, I do hardcore Course in Miracles, which is a Course in Miracles online class that anybody can attend. That's especially focused on the students of the course who want to take advantage of my 42 years of obsession with this material. As you can see, how they act like a person who's bored with something he's been saying for 4 decades. Why would that be the case? Unless I was experiencing things and seeing things through myself and through thousands of people that I've met over the last 40 years teaching this, that I saw experience things that would blow your friggin' mind. And it's so much easier than you make it for yourself. The biggest frustration that I give myself as a Course in Miracles teacher is that most of the time we have to be educated taught how to let ourselves be helped. It's a trip that we need a book that teaches us how to let ourselves be taught and helped. Because he says we are taught that we are supposed to be autonomous and self-sufficient and come up with everything and do everything ourselves. And he says, well, the only time you've ever failed was when you used your plan. And to say stuff like that, it's nothing personal. I'm not trying to be insulting, but I'm not mistaken. It's your plan that failed miserable, and that's why you never have it right now. I know. I'm just trying to come up with a better wrong plan. That's why I'm still in charge. I still haven't got it that it's my plan that's the problem, right? So check out that class on Earl Purdy page on Facebook. And I'm also available for one-on-ones called Clarity Sessions. I have such a really cool group of people that I'm working with right now, one-on-one. We're having such incredible breakthroughs. And thank you, God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're supposed to be finishing clarity sessions. Y'all both crying. Because you see a miracle of joining. Woo! I feel so blessed to have you all in my life. I'm glad that all the people I need to forgive all come to see me. And then give a love offering. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll pay you to forgive me. Oh, we are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. Okay, earlpurdy.com. That's where you go to find out about the clarity session, and you can self-book the session right there online. Okay. I'm going to say this one more time at the end. This is what I want to kind of finish this again. Do you realize that we were just told exactly how we become physical bodies separate from each other? You just came to a class, and in that class you were told why you're sitting up here in a physical body separate from one another. And that it's done because of our judgments and our perceptions that we have of each other. Because the perceptions that we have of each other is what keeps us thinking we're separate from each other. It's the perceptions that we have of each other is what makes us think we're separate from each other. It's the perceptions of each other that we have that makes us think we're separate from each other. Could we agree on that? Right? That is our perceptions that's making the way that we are seeing each other, which is separate right now. Okay? But the Course in Miracles turns around and says, well, that's going to limit you. And it's going to limit you to a time, and it's going to limit you to a place, which is where we are right now. It's a time and a place. Then it says, then it's going to look like there's a little space that you have that I call the Earl Purdy space. And then there's another little space that you name whoever you say you are. And then this is being symbolized by me looking at y'all's bodies that look like you are separate from me. But the reason why we're really seeing each other right now in these physical bodies separate from each other, and the reason why we see separation out there in that world and it looks like we're all separate and different from each other, is because of a wish. You wish to be separate. And that's why you're in a body. So even though you all look like you're all separate from me, my job now is to remember you aren't. Even though it looks like you are, I'm only seeing myself in different forms right now. That's all that's really in this room. If I can remember that, then I can tap into the part of you that's one with me, and the love in you will come out of you in spite of yourself for me. And you won't be able to stop it. You'll be nicer to me than you intend to. Because you've had that happen to you. You've had people do you like that before. Where you, for some reason, you might have thought you were angry and you were going to be upset with them or something. And you thought you were going to have a confrontation, and you ended up saying or doing something that was more sane and nicer than you had intended to do at all. We've all had that experience. That person tapped into your real self and brought your real self out. So I'm trying to bypass everybody's egos and personalities now. I'm trying to engage people's personalities and egos less as I possibly can. I'm not particularly that interested in the part of you that thinks you're different from me or separate from me and afraid of me. But my job with you is to do nothing to increase your fear. And someone who really wants to hate and be afraid, you don't have to worry about them because they're going to be repelled and they will go away from you. You don't have to get rid of nobody. When you're loving and somebody who's ready for drama all the time and angry and upset and fighting and all the rest of that crap that you don't want anymore, the once you start to wake up, they need that conflict to live and to feel alive. And so if you're a peaceful person, they're going to get the heck away from you so that they can engage with the conflict that they are so familiar with and believe in. And sometimes they call it getting back with their ex. And it might be a good idea. It depends on your purpose right now. So, mighty companions, I love you. I'll see you the next time. All right?
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, brother. Let me cut this out.